Here at Hero, we get a lot of questions about omega-3 and omega-5. Which one should I buy? Which one's better for brain health? And so we wanted to clarify, what are the differences between omega-3, 5, and 7? How are they similar? How do they compare with each other? Hi, I'm Dr. Patricia Shelton, lead medical communicator for Tehero. And let's take a look at some articles here on Tehero's website about omega-3, 5, and 7 and how they're similar and how they're different. So all of these compounds are polyunsaturated fatty acids, right? And so they look something like this. This is just a chemical diagram of a particular omega-5 fatty acid. This is punicic acid. And what all of these compounds have in common is that they have at least two bends in the fatty acid chain. So unlike saturated fats, which are straight chains that pack really closely together, they're kind of stiff. These have at least a couple of bends, maybe more, and that makes them a lot more fluid. And when they're in cell membranes, they keep those cell membranes more fluid, which helps them to function better. These are all different groups of fatty acids. So there's not just one type of omega-5. There are multiple different molecules that are all omega-5. What they have in common is this first bend, the position of this first bend in the chain. Omega-3, omega-7, they're groups of compounds, not just a single compound. And omega-3, especially, we want to talk about the difference between different members of this group. So we have the long chain omega-3 fatty acids. EPA, DHA are the most well-known. DPA is kind of a more newly discovered one. And then the short chain omega-3 fatty acids like ALA. These long chain omega-3s are the ones that have really been shown to have the brain health benefits, the immune system benefits, the benefits for heart health. And so these are the ones that people are mostly looking for. You want to check on a label that EPA and DHA specifically are in there, ideally DPA as well. And you find that in fish or fish oil, krill or krill oil, and specific types of algae or algae oil. Other plant-based sources of omega-3s contain almost exclusively or exclusively ALA, the short chain omega-3. So things like walnuts, chia seeds, flax seeds have the short chain omega-3 rather than the long chain. So if you're looking for those heart health benefits, you're going to want to look for those long chain omega-3s. And where are we going to find those in a plant-based source? Certain types of algae. Now, these algae are generally, they generally are grown in aquaculture. And this has some advantages, right? It's a nice controlled environment, so we know exactly what is going into those plants. And also, they don't have to be harvested from the ocean this way. Whereas fish or krill that's used for supplements has to be harvested directly out of the ocean. And this tends to be a very unsustainable process, a very environmentally damaging process. With algae oil, that's not necessary because the algae can be grown in aquaculture. And it's very specific types of algae that are able to provide those long chain omega-3s. Those algae are actually the source for the krill and the fish that eat those algae to accumulate those long chain omega-3s into their tissues as well. So eating these algae goes straight to the source. But it's only specific types, and they're not types you're generally going to find in food. These are types of algae that you need to get in supplement form if you're looking for a plant-based source. Now, omega-5 is a lot less well known. Not as many people have heard of omega-5 as have heard of omega-3. And probably a big part of the reason for that is that omega-5s aren't found in a lot of common food sources. So they're in pomegranate seed oil, not like pomegranate juice or even just eating the seeds. Pomegranate seed oil and some other seed oils that are kind of unusual to see in supermarkets. So omega-5 isn't something you're likely to get enough of through diet. With omega-5, you're going to want to think about getting that through a supplement. And omega-7 is kind of in the middle. There are some foods that actually do have high levels of omega-7, macadamia nuts, specific types of fish. And then you can also take this as a supplement. Sea buckthorn oil is a common supplement that has a lot of omega-7 in it. Now, what about the benefits? It turns out that the benefits of all of these compounds really overlap with each other, right? What we found in the research. Decreased inflammation is a big one. So all of these types of fatty acids help to reduce inflammation. They actually act as signaling molecules in the immune system. And we know that chronic inflammation is very damaging for brain health and for other aspects of health. So controlling inflammation is really important. These compounds also act as antioxidants, which means they help to protect cells from cell death and damage. They improve insulin sensitivity, cholesterol balance, all kinds of things. And then all three of them, omega-3, 5, and 7, have all been shown to have benefits for brain health. They help to keep cell membranes flexible and fluid. As we talked about earlier, the bendy molecule is a lot more fluid. That helps to keep cells functioning well, especially important for cells in the brain. Because they act as antioxidants and anti-inflammatories, they help to protect the brain from damage as well. And these compounds act as precursors for neurotransmitters, so the chemicals that brain cells use to communicate with each other. And they even act as signaling molecules directly themselves on a lot of different cells throughout the body. And so in all of these ways, all of these compounds are really beneficial. And it's really important to think about not just getting enough omega-3, not just getting enough omega-5, but making sure that we're getting a balanced amount of both of them. And omega-5 and omega-3 and omega-7 have all been found to have lots of benefits for brain health. They actually all work together, and they all have each individual compound within these groups has its own benefits. And so rather than saying which one's better, which one should I take, we want to think about making sure we're getting enough of all of them. And in some of these groups, we can do that through diet if we choose, maybe by eating fish or other sources. And for others, we might need to think about supplements in order to make sure that we have enough. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at knowledge@tahiro.com. And as always, we're wishing you great brain health.